Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hold On to Dom podcast. I'm your host, Erin, and today is May 31st. I'm recording this on May 30th, but when you listen to it, it'll be May 31st, which is the last day of Mental Health Awareness Month. And I kind of wanted to recap what my month was like, because there was a couple things in the first episode of Mental Health Awareness Month that I posted that I wanted to work on and focus on. And so I kind of wanted to take a minute and recap the month and talk about what I went through and how I'm using Mental Health Awareness Month and going forward. So the first thing I wanted to touch on was I wanted to hold myself accountable this month about checking in with myself, seeing how I was doing, and then also checking in on my friends and seeing how they were doing. And so the first day of the month was a Wednesday, and I think I worked out that day, and then I checked in with myself afterwards, and I was like, I'm doing good. I'm having a good day. I'm good today. So then I went to the doctor because I have been having hip issues since 2019, maybe even earlier than that. And I had a labral tear in my hip, and I had surgery in 2020, and they repaired it, but ever since my surgery, the pain has kind of come back, and I've gotten an MRI, and we've seen that the tear isn't back. So there's a couple different things it could be, but they're not positive. So one of the things that my orthopedic doctor or my orthopedic surgeon suggested I do was an injection, and I've done it twice before, but that was before the surgery. So as of recent, I guess since my surgery, I have been having a hard time with needles. When I get my blood drawn, I have to look away and think of something else. When I got my most recent MRI, they inject a really long needle into my hip, and they insert a dye so that they can see where the gaps are in my hip. And the last time I did that, which I think it was October maybe, or maybe it was earlier than that, I don't know, I honestly can't remember, but I blacked out when they were doing it, and I was getting sick. So I had a little bit of anxiety going into this appointment because I knew there was a chance that I was going to black out and get sick, because that's what my pattern has been. And so when I went into the appointment, it was not my normal surgeon that was doing the injection. It was another doctor that did the 2 injections for me before, but again, that was before my hip surgery, so it was earlier than 2020. And I just told him that recently I've been having reactions to needles, and I was a little bit nervous that something was going to happen once he started the procedure. So he kind of immediately was just okay, then let's not do this. And I think right when he said that, my brain, oh my God, I'm getting emotional already. And when you hear me talk about this, it honestly, thinking back on it, it sounds silly. But the second that he was all right, we're not going to do this, I felt like I had failed, and this, I had been working myself up for weeks, months about this injection, and to prep myself mentally for this, and then to just be like shut down. I had thought that maybe he would offer a solution or say like, we'll put a cold towel on your neck, like everything's going to be okay. But he was not, I don't want to say not compassionate, but he was not like supportive of getting through this. He was like, I don't want you getting sick at my table. I don't want you blacking out. He literally said, like, as he was leaving, like, I don't know what I would have done if you got sick. Like, I would have been like, what do we do now? So he was just like, we're not going to do it. And then he started like packing up, and he was like, I'm going to write you a script to do physical therapy. So when I went home, I was like crying, and my fiance was like, what's wrong? And I was like, honestly, I don't know. I just like feel really depressed right now. I think I was looking forward to something that was going to help my hip pain, and then it got taken away, and in a way that upset me, because it wasn't like, let's get through this together. It was like, well, if you're going to go and do that, then I'm not doing it. Like, that's how it felt. So the whole rest of the day I was depressed. After I had just checked in with myself in the morning and I was fine, this series of events ended up leading me into a depression for the rest of the day. And I told myself, you could go get outside and take a walk, get some sunshine. I had no motivation to do that. So I sat on my couch and I watched TV. I think I was watching Supernatural until I had to leave to go to work, to go teach dance at the dance studio I teach at. And I think what finally got me out of the funk was going to work, and I distracted myself with what I had to do. And that day I realized, for me personally, something that helps me get out of a tough time is my routine. Because I sometimes feel as though I can't push myself to do something, because it's just me saying, let's go do this. But my anxiety and depression is like, no, we're not going to. But if I have something I'm committed to, I have an obligation that I have to do, I have to go do it. I can't call out. I can't say I'm not coming to work today because I'm upset. I have to go and do it. So that is what helps me get out of my depression, is going back into my routine. And I have noticed in the past too that if I have like a week off and I'm not going anywhere, like it's not like a vacation, I'm just at home and I'm like sitting here doing nothing, I slowly get into a little bit of a depression, and then I don't want to leave the house. I don't want to go hang out with anybody. I don't want to go do anything. I don't want to. And then when I have work to get back into, I dread going in, because I'm like, I just want to sit at home and mope. So the best thing for me is keeping my routine, keeping my schedule active, and it also helps me to have plans with my friends in the future. Like if I go and make plans with them and then I do not cancel, I follow through, even if I'm feeling sluggish that day and I feel like I just want to be alone, because I know once I'm there and with somebody, I will be enjoying it and it will uplift my spirits. So that's what the first day of May taught me. I was not expecting to have so much happen to me. I was not expecting the first day of May to be an enlightenment to myself and understanding the way that my emotions and mental health were affecting me. But it did. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about, because it happened on the first day of Mental Health Awareness Month. So another thing that I did this month, or actually I did it in April, but I did it after I recorded my mental health awareness podcast. I signed up for 2 AFSP Zoom events. One was called Talk Saves Lives, and it talked about understanding what someone is going through when they're thinking of suicide. And most of it was stuff that I already knew, but I learned a couple new things, so that was really helpful and informative, and I'm really glad that I took the time to do that. And if it's something that you're interested in, the AFSP has a lot of Zoom events coming up. They probably have one scheduled till the end of the year, honestly. So if you go to their website, afsp.org, you can see all the Zoom events that are upcoming. Each chapter hosts different ones. So there's a lot of Talk Save Lives Zooms. So if you want to learn more about suicide prevention and how to help those around you or help yourself, if you're feeling depressed or suicidal, or you know someone that is feeling depressed or suicidal, I urge you to look into signing up for one of those Zooms. Another Zoom event from the AFSP that I signed up for was learning about advocacy. And unfortunately, it was supposed to be May 13th, but it got rescheduled to next Monday. So I can't really talk on that because I didn't experience the Zoom yet. But I am going to do an episode after I learned more about it, because I do want to share and understand what the AFSP is doing with advocacy. So that event is on June 3rd, and I'm pretty sure you can still sign up. It's the New Jersey chapter that is doing it, but I think anyone can sign up because it's Zoom. You don't have to, it's not in person. So then another thing that I did this month, I was proactive with signing up for Out of the Darkness walks. Because of starting this podcast, I'm more inspired than ever to give myself as much experience and knowledge with the AFSP that I can. So I decided that instead of doing just my one annual walk that I do every year for the AFSP, I signed up for 6. So I am doing one in September in Massachusetts. I'm doing one in September in North Jersey. I'm doing one in September in Annapolis, Maryland. And then I'm doing 3 in October. One is in New York, one is in Philadelphia, and then one is in Richmond. So I wanted to experience a bunch of different chapters of the AFSP because I've only experienced Massachusetts and Philadelphia. Those are the only 2 walks I've ever done. And so I wanted to experience what other walks were like, because doing the walks is something that's so important to me. And as cheesy as it sounds, it's like one of the most special days to me because I'm surrounded by a community of people that understand what losing someone to suicide feels like. And it just is one big community, and it's just indescribable to feel like you're a part of something that's bigger than yourself and you're not alone, and all these people that are surrounding you are going through the same thing as you and feeling the same emotions, and you're just all in a similar place emotionally. So I'm really excited to experience all these walks in the fall. And I will definitely be doing a whole podcast episode about that in November, talking about my experience with each of them. And I'm hoping to maybe be able to talk to a couple of the AFSP chapter leaders, maybe not the leaders, but someone that works with the chapter. Like, I already spoke with Heather, and she's in charge of the Massachusetts Special Events Director. She's also a contact for the walk that I'm doing. So I might reach out to these contacts and see if they'd be willing to come on the podcast and talk about what their chapter is doing. I thought that might be something fun to learn about. Hopefully look for that in the fall. I did check in on my friends this month, the ones that I don't talk to frequently, the ones that we kind of just talk to here and there. I texted them, asked them how they were doing, and they were open and honest. They didn't just say, "I'm good, how are you?" They told me what they were going through, and we talked back and forth about what we both were going through, and like the hard things, the good things. And it just feels so nice to have people in your life that want to know that you're doing okay. And it feels good to have people know that if I'm not doing okay, they are there to support me, and they want me to know that. And same thing for them. If they're going through something that's hard and they're having a tough time, just letting them know that I am there for them in whatever way that they need me to be. And I hope that if you're a listener of this podcast, that you checked in on at least one friend this month and let them know that you're there for them and they're not alone, because something as small as a text just to say that you're thinking about someone could mean so much, and it could make someone's day. So the last thing I wanted to talk about in this episode was a couple days ago, a pro golfer named Grayson Murray, who was only 30 years old, died by suicide. His family announced the news. And I'm really glad that they did, because sometimes, especially with someone of a high profile, they hide that it's suicide because they don't want people to think less of the person. But it's so important to share, because people need to know that no matter what people have in their lives, like, here's someone that's a pro golfer. They're at like the peak of their career, and it seems like he probably had it all. He had a fiance. He had an amazing career. I'm sure he had lots of money, but that doesn't matter. If you don't have your mental health, none of that matters. So, yeah, that was my final thoughts on that. Just don't assume you know what anyone is going through, because what you see on the outside has nothing to do with what's going on the inside. So even if you have a friend that seems like they have everything going for them, don't assume that they are having it easy and doing well, because you don't know that. And that about wraps up my thoughts for the month of May. I am using what I learned this month to move forward, go on with the rest of my year. And I hope that everyone else is too. I hope you took time to learn about all these foundations I mentioned, or take time to learn about yourself or your friends, and focused on your mental health this month, because your mental health is so important and it deserves the best you can give it. So thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening. Our website is holdontilldawn.com, and our email is holdontilldawn@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at holdontilldawn, and on Facebook at Hold On Till Dawn Benefit Concert. See you next time.